What was the overall assessment of what happened here at Nostrica? What would you guys find it to be?
To me, was my hope was that it was going to be kind of a meeting of the minds and seeing what's the vibe, what's the pulse, where's everybody at, and it exceeded that expectation by miles. It was absolutely fantastic. The energy that you can feel.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, it's not just that we had that beautiful river in the back of the venue. It wasn't just the coconuts. It's just everybody's so excited. There's something so clearly special about this. It's just filled me up with hope.
It was like a continuation of remember Nostr like a year ago. The vibe back then, which was only nerds, but it was obvious that it was because this is like early Bitcoin, early Linux, same feeling, right? And it's like obvious this thing is gonna fucking go somewhere. And then the conference to me was like an extension of that in the correct direction too. Like we're opening up a bit more, which is good. Like especially with like the music guys and stuff. Like I'm like now it's just like okay. I've been like really sure about Nostr for the last year. Yeah. But now it's like, so like Twitter and stuff are fucked.
Right.
Like
someone DM'd me yesterday about showing me some screenshots they've been working on for sort of like a music app or something like that. And it looks fantastic. And it took me back to I didn't see the music panel yet, but I kind of got a gist of what's going on. And I'm so excited about the intersection of Nostr and other communities. I think there's so much value to tap there because we can build stuff. Like they were saying today, I don't know if you guys saw the last event with the organizers of the conference, and they were saying, it would be nice if we can use Nostr because they were using Telegram to mainly communicate for the conference. Yeah. It would be nice to be able to use Nostr for the next conference.
Right.
And I was thinking, it's so, I mean, obviously group encrypted DMs are important, but I'm sure that we can build something that would help that specific use case. And man, I'm so excited about going after that because I think when you play that out, you end up with hyper Bitcoinization.
Yeah. So for you, are you sort of thinking of this as like an onboard to Bitcoin, or does it mean something else? And it's just that comes along as like a happy side effect, or what sort of?
So the way for me, Bitcoin is just represents freedom. It's an instance of freedom. There are multiple aspects to freedom, and Bitcoin is one very absolutely fundamental part, especially because it unlocks other aspects of freedom. Nostr is another aspect of freedom. To me, these technologies are kind of the same. They are just different instances of the same thing. When we enable these different communities to discover, just not orange pill them, not purple pill them, just give them something that is better, much, much better than what they are currently using. All the side effects, all those benefits, the censorship resistant, the freedom money, all that stuff, it just comes with the package. But we can create a product for conference organizers, or DJs, or whatever that is better than what they currently have. And it also happens to have all these wonderful traits. Those traits that excite us on their own, those are side benefits.
Right. I don't know how, I was talking to somebody at lunch today, and I know that a lot of people, there's like a very strong Bitcoin kind of, culture, let's say, and Lightning is maybe like a lighter weight, like not quite as, let's say, adversarial in a way, right? Because it doesn't have to be it, right? In a sense, Nostr's like also even less adversarial. It's more welcoming, it's friendly, it's fun, you can do memes. Nothing matters. It can all crash and who cares, right? It's not money, it's just play, right? In a sense.
I think that's a little bit downstream from the fact that there is no consensus in Nostr. So anyone can do pretty much whatever they want. We don't have to all coalesce on this is how it works. anyone can just go and write an application, write whatever you want,
Yeah.
and just roll with it.
Yeah.
You don't need to agree with every single person. Whereas in Bitcoin, we have to. So we get that toxicity to defend how the rules of the protocol are decided and changed.
Right. So it's like a feature down at the base layer.
I think so.
Yeah.
What I'm really excited about is, there are a lot of my friends who are just developers. They didn't get the Bitcoin thing. They're probably never going to get it on the sound money alone. One day, maybe they'll get it by accident, right? But, they went to other ecosystems like Ethereum or whatever just because they wanted to build cool apps. And it looked nice and it was something fun that they could show their friends and, they're builders primarily. And so what I'm so excited about now is, with Nostr, with Lightning, with Bitcoin, the whole stack, you can come in now and build a lot of these ideas. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, my buddy who's in ETH, he was like, yeah, I really wish I could just build Twitter with tipping. It's like, bro, we got you right now. And all of his different ideas he was, talking about prototyping, he can do with Nostr. Now, the cool thing about that, coming on top of and having sort of the Bitcoin and Lightning sort of influence, Nostr's separate. If someone wants to come and bring their own tokens or whatever, they can do that. They probably will. But if we can, to your point, create, because there's so much of a sort of critical mass around Bitcoin Lightning, and we can show the experience just works, and it's just so much better than people like Rabble, for example, who, he came back to Nostr.
Yeah.
He's not a Bitcoiner. Like when I talked to him about it, he doesn't seem like he wants to be a Bitcoiner, but he'll use Bitcoin and Lightning because it works.
Yeah.
And
if it serves a need, that's fine, but it doesn't have to, you don't have to buy into the ideology. Just
I think that's perfect because I think there's so much people in the world that they know what Bitcoin is. It's just what they know of Bitcoin is completely wrong. And it's been informed by Bitcoin is BTC USD. Bitcoin is a price. Bitcoin is a chart. Bitcoin is mining rigs. It's all these things that Bitcoin is really not.
Right.
And I think highlighting the utility that Bitcoin is bringing, you might not like it. Don't hold it. You don't have to hold it. You don't have to trade it or any of that. It has a utility. It's just better. Within this protocol specifically, it's better than using other stuff.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Yeah, just like we're solving problems because the user is the developer in Nostr essentially. Like, or even if it's not, it's very fucking close.
Yeah.
Right. There's not much distance there. Like, it's totally different to the way everything's built everywhere else, more or less. I mean, in open source, it's like this, but I think like Nostr, like, the culture is like such that it's even more powerful than general open source in terms of like connecting the real world with developers. Like, as a developer, I know what to build. I can see exactly what it needs. It's very obvious what to do next.
You can kind of play at the application layer, right? You can, which you can't really do in other technologies so much.
Yeah, and like we're just because Bitcoin opens up, like you mentioned, Bitcoin is like. That opens up a territory of freedom, and they're coming after it now. But we're like putting like another.
They're coming
ring.
after Nostr?
They're coming after Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And,
I was like, let's hold a second. We don't need them to come after Nostr yet. Yeah, right. Just let us do our thing.
and so like it's like Nostr gives us like another layer, like another kind of territory of freedom. That's opening up, and like where it's like it's just like it's building its own possibilities itself. Like I think.
Yeah, and G, you've talked about. I mean, we've reviewed the Nostrocket write-up that you did like the day we saw it land. Like it was a Wednesday, and we saw it. We were like, holy shit! Let's look at it. We were looking at the diagrams, reading all the stuff, and that seems like a whole green field of interesting stuff that we could explore. And then we talked briefly this morning about this music stuff that feels like it's maybe different, maybe related, but like, can you tell us a little bit? Because that's a very user-centric thing, right? Music. I think music has been one of the common themes that I've heard people talking about here that I never really knew there was so much music. Everybody posts title links, but other than that, I don't know that music is such an interest, common interest in the community. But you've done now some thinking about how music should play out. So where's your head with what is Nostrocket? What is music on Nostr? How do those relate?
Well, let's talk about music because it's way more simple.
Okay,
to start with.
Yeah.
So like we had a panel at Nostrica about music because there was this like I just saw like I didn't know there were any musicians there, and then suddenly there's like there was like 5 or 6 musicians there, and like a guy who organizes music festivals, another guy who's like a recording studio guy, and all these music industry people there, like not music industry people, but like music space.
Yeah.
And so I was like, because my biggest concern with Nostr up till now has been like, it's a circle jerk, and like it's not exactly a circle. It kind of is though. So which is fine because it's kind of early, right?
Yeah.
But we can't keep being a circle jerk. We need to like break the circle open. And
I think that has already started to happen. I think we are beyond that phase.
I think
The presence of Roya here, I think illustrates that we are after.
I'm cautiously optimistic now, but I think we still need to. I think we still need to be wary because it's like the same. It's the same mentality as like Bitcoin's inevitably going to work, right? But
I hate the Bitcoin is inevitable argument. It's no. Of course,
they're coming after us. They have nukes. It's not inevitable.
What is it?
It's not inevitable at all, of course.
So anyway, so for music, so I was like, okay, well, let's just do like a panel about because here's like real people doing stuff that's not.
Are these musicians, or when you say music industry people, these are musicians or
music
publishers?
Space, music space.
What does that mean? It sounds like a coded word.
I don't know. I think like it's not big music.
Okay,
it's grassroots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but it's like not small either.
But the musicians themselves were showing up.
Yeah. Those musicians there, and like who have experienced the problems of the music industry.
Yeah.
And so like, because it's like, what problems do we need to solve? Or here's like for people who are not like just nerdy like us, right? And then like, so like what? So like, because how do we blow the doors open on this thing to bring in like other things, right?
Yeah.
And like music, it's like if it wasn't music people, it's cool. It could be something else, right? But like there were music people there, so I was like, okay, well here we go. Here's the pathway to opening this thing up, and like, okay, if music people, if it benefits them, because the problem is like they don't make any money, right? And then
do you think they should be coming to Nostr with the intention to make money, or is there like another
they need
motivation? But today Nostr is not going to be a credible place for them to make money yet, right? Like maybe it could be next week or a month from now. But is there another reason that they could come? Like, are there new tools that they maybe don't have exposure to outside of Nostr that that could be built inside?
No, I think it comes down to at least the potential of making money. This is just I think Nostr is going to be the easiest way for them to do that outside of the current system. So I was thinking like just an artist can like they publish all their stuff, like it's like they release songs intermittently, right? Like I mean that's how it works, right? They produce you can't produce 1 billion songs in one day, so songs are produced over time. So why don't you just have like the song that's released today, if you want it today, you pay for it. And then after, because if it's a good song, it's going to get shared for free anyway at some point. So like, why don't you just have like, if you want the latest shit, you pay and you get it and you're in the first thing. And you could even like order it and show which NPub paid for this song first. And like you can see who bought it first, who's the biggest fans. Right. And then eventually it just becomes free because like there's no point to keep, no one's going to pay for it after it's like, spread around so much already, right? Like people.
Do you imagine that consumption happens within like a Nostr client or like a new type of browser for consuming the music? Or
simple app or client. Like it's the kind of stuff like we could knock it up probably overnight with a lot of coffee. For sure.
How do you bootstrap that? I don't know if I'll also get picked up. How do you bootstrap that community, right? Like today, as you said, it's a lot of like very technical people and some are music fans. Do we need a big artist to come and that's like the first shockwave, or is it going to be a small artist that has fans within the Nostr community? How do you think we kind of get that two-sided marketplace?
It definitely has to start small, right? I mean, just realistically. So like, I think like just get artists to use it, and then they're going to try it. There's already a bunch of guys there. If you build anything in the music kind of world at all on Nostr, these guys are going to try and use it. And if that is better for them than what they're currently doing, they're going to keep using it. And so like it's already better for them if they just go on the NostrPleb's like spaces thing. Like I was talking to Jay.
Oh yeah.
And he was like the amount of like love that he felt by playing live music on the NostrPleb spaces, and it was even like jittery and stuff because it's fucking whatever. But and no, and he's getting all these zaps. He's getting all these zaps, and it's just like, I don't know. I think like, I think people will pay.
Yep.
Like if it was like if he releases a new song and released a new song today, and it's like you can get it today for like $5, or you can wait like a month and get it for free or whatever, right? Like I think people will pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking there, I agree with you. Small is going to work well, but do you think there's almost two different arguments about how that could go? And this is something I think about a lot as someone like puts out music, right? Like if you put out,
you guys know Cipher Perro?
Yeah, Cipher Perro. That's right. You guys know I rap.
Cipher Perro.
Yeah.
Right there. Do you want to drop? You got a mic, so.
Yeah, if you guys give me a beat, I could spit a little something. You want me to spit something from back in the day?
Yeah.
No, check this out. I said, nothing in this life is free, you see. I got soldiers on the streets going to war for me. They're willing to die soon, but I haven't promised sun the moon. Just a chance of freedom. Tyrannical leaders, we don't need them. But I'm going to keep spitting while I'm at my peak. The song's a shout out to my boy Technique, because he understand every barrage starts with a leak. The chance to live is all we seek. But funny how the message get distorted. Ignorant masses soon to be caught up in lies and bullshit. I don't want no more. I said we stuck in a conflict as old as folklore. So with no way out, I'll continue to spout and bring the pain of common sense to our generation. Else we stand to lose our own nation. But freedom made free, teach them all a lesson. You think it's just funny, dog? I ain't messing. Global nuclear war and climate disorder while them greedy, bougie boys and resource hoarders.
Yeah.
They're trying to take every last cent from our pocket. I say we take that shit back. We leave it out. We unlock it. Let's go.
Yeah. Zap. Woo. All right, we're like beaming
little something.
I told you we got a musician right here, right?
There you go.
We should get a spaces going, right?
You should actually do something with that.
You should, yeah. I actually think it'd be great to do something like that people would, it would resonate with everybody, right? Everybody would want to hear that kind of stuff because it's fun and it's new and it's novel and it's weird in the right way. No, it is. Like, I think the big celebs everybody knows can come later, but like the organic kind of the new stuff that people haven't heard and the stuff that's kind of relevant.
Yeah.
I think that's what's interesting about it.
And this is kind of the point that I was going to make is like, look, obviously I'm not trying to make a living off being an artist right now, although I hope eventually everyone can. But when I do put anything out there, whether it's an essay or whatever, a zap or a note that gets zapped, I don't make a lot of money, but I do get a lot of love today. Yeah. So I guess what I'm getting at is eventually, I think if we want people to be able to do it because they need to make a lot of money, maybe one way to do it is you get someone who's a little bit bigger. There's an easier solution to onboard, kind of centralize their fans and say, hey, instead of TikTok where I get paid nothing, here maybe I make $100 and that's something. Or maybe it kind of like steamrolls up where the people that post, like I would post something and like if I get paid whatever, like $1, I'm thrilled. But seeing all the notes and the love, like maybe that's enough to kind of build us until the monetary incentive is enough.
Yeah.
Curious what y'all think.
Well, you think. To me, the Zaps are an incredibly sticky product.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a lot of money, the people that try that, they get hooked.
Yeah.
The fact that you're writing something or posting whatever it is and getting actual value from people that are sending it to you, even for non-Bitcoiners, and I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
That resonates so much. It's so clearly different than attention that you get or likes or comments. It's one step further. Yeah. And I am very, very, I think that that functionality will be used to seed these kind of markets.
Yeah. But I don't think that's cool. It's good. It's great.
You mean that it's not enough, right?
It's nowhere near enough.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But for a market, you need to bootstrap it. You don't need to come into the market and immediately everything is working. You need some kind of spark that can help begin the process of growing and growing. And I think Zaps are the spark.
Yeah. It's getting the ball rolling. That's for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. But I think like now we need to build like the next phase, which is like actually you have to pay.
I 100% agree.
And
100%
do you think
agree.
live is the right kind of first experiment, like the stuff you said we're already seeing on NostrPlebs? Is that the spaces
the
kind of thing?
spaces, yeah.
So people are already doing Zaps there, and people are singing, performing, and then is the live experience, does it translate to a recorded piece that you can zap later, or?
And there's no infrastructure at all around us. This is just like we have a live spaces thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
No, yeah, that's as far as it goes. But like you could, this is so. I think from this, so okay, we did this music panel, right?
Yeah.
And then we were discussing like, what do we do about this? And then like, by the end of it, we figured it out. And now, like, I would be surprised if this new like product, to call it a product, I don't want to call it a product, but if this new thing doesn't exist within like 2 or 3 weeks.
What is it
And what is
For
the
sure.
thing?
What is this new product?
What is the thing? Yeah.
Or you publish your music, like SoundCloud, basically, and then you imagine SoundCloud, but then like if you can zap on SoundCloud, and also if you really like someone and you want their newest shit, you just pay them. You pay them a bit more, like a mega zap.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you think people? It's not about content locking, is it? It's more kind of volunteer recognition, or
It's both. You can lock the content. Like you can just like you release your track, and then you encrypt it for the pub key
Right.
that bought it, and then and by the way, you can put like a little like a sound in. You can embed like a sound of the end, so you can convert the end pub into a sound.
Right.
Put it in a file. You won't hear it, but it'll survive the MP3 encoding process.
Right.
And then so if someone shares it outside of that, which will happen,
Yeah.
but like at least they will be publicly shamed and
Right.
commit harikari, right? to restore honor to their family.
right? Of course, yeah, of course. It's all about the honor. And so people are going to be uploading things and publishing them, and hopefully getting zaps. Do you think these are people like Cipher Perro, or is it people who already have they're using SoundCloud, they're going to move here, or they're going to come up with new stuff here that's kind of de novo unique to Nostr? Or?
I think it's people who are already producing content, because at least at first,
Yeah.
and then maybe people will be inspired to
Yeah,
do new stuff.
yeah.
But I'd say like the existing people, they're already here, man. There's already artists doing stuff, and like if you build this, they're going to use it straight away. Like it's already done. You build this thing, you have users. They're waiting for you to build it right now. So this is why I think it's like this that panel. Like whoever watched that, who's has more than any JavaScript guy can do this.
Yeah.
Which is a very low bar.
Tell us how you really feel. Have you guys seen Wavelake? Have you played with it yet?
I haven't played with it.
Wavelake is also kind of like a music platform. I mean, they have a lot of things in mind, but part of it is kind of like this like SoundCloud with lightning streaming. And I know, in fact, no one's got the Nostrica shirt on, but I've got the shirt on. But the guy that does Lightning Store is one of the co-founders, and he made that shirt. Anyways, I've been telling them, hey guys, integrate Nostr, and it seems like they're pretty excited about it. So my hope is that you'll get a whole bunch of these different interoperable players, right? So people can easily upload a track, and then all the different players can kind of compete on user experience. Hopefully, Tidal gets in there as well, and then all of a sudden, what I would love to see happen, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. Like I do think there's going to be kind of this like ground up bootstrap and like, is that what the word? Yeah, ground up bootstrap, groundswell, whatever, and from artists that say like, hey, there's enough Nostrages, maybe I can get a little bit of love, a little bit of money. But I do think that if you could, and maybe it'll be Tidal, maybe it'll be someone else, just kind of come, even like with a medium-sized artist. It doesn't have to be like a huge artist at first, but someone just to run this simple experiment. And DKU proposed this of saying, if I post a thing on Spotify or Tidal old school versus a music player that's Nostr and Lightning enabled, or I post a thing on TikTok versus a thing that's Lightning and Nostr enabled, in this one I get paid whatever, fractions of a penny or something. In this one, I make $1,000, $10,000. But the key is they could also potentially, if the tools get good enough, custodial maybe is the way to go to get started, bring some of their audience over, and just then I think they're going to get hooked, and it will go like wildfire. But I think we need that one example of like one artist that says, yo, I made $100,000 doing this or something like that.
Yep. What do you think is the Tidal move here? Does Tidal become a Nostr client, or has there been any talk about that?
I know nothing about internally what's going on, but it just reminded me. A few days ago, I wrote that I think that anything that has any kind of communication or delivery will either be a Nostr client or dead.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like any company that they can either convert their treasury to Bitcoin or die. It's up to them.
Right.
The thing is that when you're doing Spotify, when you're doing Tidal, when you're doing Apple Music, whatever it might be, you are fighting with your Spotify network effects, which are big, but you're fighting with an open network that has network effects that are feeding on each other. Mm-hmm. Because a small music application that comes and starts building on Nostr and has a small network effect will start hitting the network effect of this other application that has nothing to do with music, but maybe there is some crossover, a small intersection of both audiences, and they start feeding off each other. So I think here, yes, you have the incumbents, right? You have huge network effects, but they cannot create synergies with each other. They're just fighting with each other.
Right. Yeah, we've been talking about it as kind of network effects at the protocol layer instead of at the application layer, right? So
and now between 3 different protocols.
Exactly. Because each application, we can see there is a network effect on Spotify. It has nothing to do with the network effect of Amazon. Both of them have network effects on completely unrelated niches, right?
Right.
But in Nostr, those are two network effects that can feed on each other. So the network effects is on the protocol.
Mm-hmm. And another aspect is that like those big companies, like they can't adapt. They can't move quickly. Like they have all this stupid like. This is why, like, you would never work for a big company.
No.
Yeah.
I worked for Merrill Lynch for a while, and it was a.
See you surviving.
No, man. The sharks killed me, but it was on a very interesting project, and as soon as it stopped being the interesting part, I was like, oh my god, this is death.
Yeah. So like, people who are in our category, we are not available to these companies, and
absolutely.
But we are available to Nostr, and
for free,
and like we can move very, very fucking quickly. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't think anything else stands a chance.
Mm-hmm. So I want to take this moment. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll pound you both there. You two may be the only people that I've met that are as bullish, if not more bullish, than DK and I are Nostr. And I thought we were kind of crazy saying, yeah, Nostr's going to steamroll, rebuild the whole fucking internet. And then here you guys are saying, no, it's going to happen tomorrow. But serious question, like, just paint for me. I'd love to hear from both of you. Paint your picture, over the next year or so. How quickly do these network effects build? How long does it take us to get to 100 million users? How long to 1 billion users? How long until Nostr is steamrolled and even companies like Google are left indexing the wrong web?
They're already indexing the wrong web.
Good answer.
I think like because things get adopted in waves. There's like a wave. Like right now, I think there's probably going to be a wave after Nostrica, right? A new wave into. But it's not. So like, we're kind of actually not ready for the next wave, but it doesn't matter. But like, each wave is bigger than the last, right? And also it's not predictable. Firstly, and there could be nuclear war before then. So like, who knows? But.
Fingers crossed.
These Bitcoiners are real optimists, right?
Tonight we're putting our Nostr chats.
So I mean, it can happen very, very quickly, but I don't know. I guess I don't even know how many users we have now, right? But
Let's say on the order of 100,000. Yeah.
Okay, well, like a year ago when I first was messing around with it, there were like 600. So.
Yeah, one thing that is because definitely adoption comes in waves, but the further we are on the curve, the more sticky the product is. So we have this wave. and the volatility of what the wave looks like, the length, continues to reduce. I definitely agree that after Nostrica, we'll probably see a small wave, but we are accruing value. And we're building and building and building.
Yeah.
There is more value coming from the fact that there is a larger network effect happening, but also the richness of the applications and what people can do continues to increase. So I think we're going to see an increase of adoption from both sides.
So like the difference between Nostr and like a traditional centralized shitcoiny company approach is like the new wave of adoption isn't just users, it's developers. Yeah. And like, so like it's, I think the growth of Nostr is going to look very different to the growth of anything else we've ever seen before.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of how many different things can be built that serve different people's needs.
The speed of building is going to increase with the speed of adoption. And the speed of building decreases with the speed of adoption with traditional legacy organizations.
Yep. And what are the other? So it's the speed of adoption, speed of development. What other are there other kind of second order effects that come from that? Like, are there just new product ideas that we've never seen before?
To me, the thing that interests me the most is that what Jack said just now on the conference is that we are still running away from. We are not yet running towards, and Zap is the first part where we are running towards. It's not replacing what was broken. I think we must continue to run from there, because there is the basics still need to be built. The things people expect still need to be built. What interests me the most is when you get these different, what used to be silos, the Amazon, the YouTube, what we imagine that needs to exist and that is obvious that will exist. It's like the level 1 thinking. What happens when those silos are all meshed together? That second wave of innovation, what will that look like? And I think by definition, we cannot know what that wave of innovation will look like. But I think it will be so outrageous. The difference, the stark contrast will be so massive that we cannot even see it yet.
And so does it just happen because open allows so many experiments to be run that they just thousands are tried and 2 of them really stick that become interesting? Or
I think so. I absolutely think so. So when you think of how humans think of get ideas, it usually is the convergence of 2 unrelated topics. So when you put these, I don't know, something from physics with something from music, something weird might happen. You might get a weird idea. What I think that we will observe the same effect when you mix data in this way.
So I think like what we're going to start seeing is that an evolutionary kind of a thing, but it's more than that, because like instead of individual sort of projects or whatever adapting to the environment, they're actually creating the environment that other things adapt into. So it's creating its own niche. It's like, you know what I mean?
This
is why my fund is called Hivemind. I see this is the next stage of evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all these little mutations getting tried and everybody coming together, bringing the best ideas.
I do want to ask you guys, though, because something Deacon and I have also discussed in our pods is like, I don't know, maybe every generation feels like this, or maybe we are actually unique on the precipice of something truly new, but it feels like there are so many powerful forces acting at once, right? On the one hand, as you said, you have Bitcoin that's like demonetizing everything else and fast in 15 years. And in fact, I saw someone was tweeting, it was like, US dollar versus Argentinian peso. And then it's the almost exact same, like it's the same inflation rate for Bitcoin versus the dollar.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's all happening. That's crazy. you have a lot of like the kind of old social systems that are, clearly no longer working, and there's some scary stuff around that. At the same time, you have these beautiful new decentralizing forces. Nostr is exploding. You've got Bitcoin and Lightning to do open payments and money around them. And at the same time, you have some of these other centralizing forces like AI that's taking off at the same time. And there's an argument over whether that can be pushed to the edge or not. But it seems more centralizing than not, at least today. Where does all of this go? I mean, like, are we moving towards some kind of singularity that's just literally impossible to predict at that point? Or how do all of these, we're in Costa Rica right next to a place called the Whale's Tail because you had these two currents, my understanding is, that created this emerging island out of them. Like, what is that Whale's Tail weird new future going to look like? Everyone wants.
So you're talking about like emergent properties.
Well, yes, but emergent properties, but from multiple different forces. It's not just like, okay, Nostr alone disrupting the internet is a big deal. Bitcoin disrupting all of finance and all of money is a big deal. AI potentially coming in as and some of these are those are decentralizing forces. AI is taking off very quickly, and that's more a centralizing force today. It's arguable. How do all of these forces, and society is also going through some big transitions, generationally, how is all of that going to hit together? Like when you've got Nostr and you've got AI and you've got Bitcoin, what is that new world? And also, by the way, energy is getting radically cheaper where it's almost free, which is also itself a singularity. What does the world look like in 50 years?
So everyone knows Moore's law, but that's a subset of a larger thing, a larger kind of a broader thing, which is just the cost of technology, and this is even true of biological systems. The cost of producing technology it keeps declining, which is why the emperor's toys become emperor's expensive shit becomes like children's toys.
You said that's also true in biology?
The cost of the amount of energy it takes to produce a cell or produce DNA has decreased over time.
Oh, I see. So
because it's like an evolution. It's like if you can do it cheaper.
It was very expensive to even discover how to produce it or how to use DNA effectively.
Yeah.
So we're getting more efficient at converting energy.
Kind of. But it's basically just everything is becoming free.
Deflationary.
Everything's becoming free, basically, right? Over a broad sense, and especially during technology. So the cost of producing chips and the cost of producing the connections between the chips is decreasing. So the number of chips and the number of connections between the chips is increasing, right? And then chips are everything can have computational power very soon because it's so cheap. It's going to be cheaper than sand, right? So, and then you have to write software that runs on these things. But Conway's law it basically says that the structure of the team that writes software, that's the structure of the software that they build. So if you have a 5-person team building a new compiler, then you'll have a 4-pass compiler because one of the 5 teams is a manager. So so Nostr is the developers are it's very the way it's developing is very decentralized. All the developers are it's completely decentralized, which is the only way you can build for this. Because the number of chips and connections between them are increasing so rapidly, that is decentralizing. That's a decentralizing force fundamentally. So it's like this is bigger than Bitcoin and bigger than Nostr. It's this is a force we are decentralizing no matter what. And anyway, I ranted too long, and I didn't really explain myself properly.
It sounds like the main point is it's kind of got everything has a deflationary aspect to it, whether it's technology, biology, money, everything we're playing with today is other flavors of that same thing.
Yeah, and I like your point. This is all just one extension of evolution. Humans are in technology, but I guess how do you think the AI centralizing force counteracts?
Right. Yeah.
The AI centralizing force.
Well, if you buy that AI is a centralizing force.
I think the argument, just to lay it out, is that most AI, there's a frontier of AI that requires more compute, right? Lots of GPUs, big training data sets, lots of parameters. And so if you want to build the best AI today, you need to have huge capital investment. And that will become cheap over time. But as that becomes cheap because of the deflationary aspect you're talking about, there's going to be some other frontier of AI that's even more advanced that everybody really demands. And so there's kind of this, we talk a lot about how Nostr has a lot of these decentralizing properties to them that we like, but AI appears to have very centralizing properties. If you can run GPT-3 on your phone, you really want GPT-7, right?
Yeah, I mean, AI is one thing that terrifies me, not because of not in the way that it terrifies the idiot people. I mean, like,
you have the smart take on it. What is that?
Because it's not that smart. It's not that smart. It's just a
yeah.
Okay. So,
yes, token
but it is powerful. It's very powerful
yeah.
though, and so, and we're talking like who is controlling this power? And like that's my question. So the only way to keep this from pushing power towards a very small group of people is if we decentralize AI itself. And like, so I think the only way you can do that is we need some kind of a protocol for AI where everyone's phone can participate in like running like what's it called? Like just learning, right? So just adjusting the weights in the neural net, basically, or whatever. However we're doing it now, transformers and shit. But like that needs to be pushed out to the edges somehow, right? Because otherwise the big fuckers are going to control it, and then it's going to centralize around, and it's probably not going to be even Americans controlling this. It's going to be like China. So like if you don't
whoever takes the most risks.
Yeah, well, like whoever can spin up. I mean, like who can spin up the most computational power in the shortest amount of time? And the answer is China, because they have all this new nuclear infrastructure. And I'm not saying anything bad about China.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the fact is they are better than everybody else at this, which is also going to be true for mining Bitcoin. They're basically, they've already dominated the hash rate if they want to. They just aren't, because they know that will hurt Bitcoin, and they're long Bitcoin. So like,
is that the calculus that's gone on?
yes,
China's long
absolutely.
Bitcoin. They kicked out the miners because
it was under the China FUD, right? So
I want to hear this.
I don't know.
You think China is stacking on their balance sheet right now?
I think they're about to make a big move. Not immediately, but they're planning for it. So like,
you're saying they kicked the miners out because they wanted to.
There's a few reasons why they kicked the miners out, and a few different reasons. But like, it does help Bitcoin to kick them out. They have a lot of Bitcoin, like China has a lot of Bitcoin. So kicking them out helps it. Secondly, they were using subsidized electricity, because electricity in China is essentially a subsidized thing. So they are essentially getting free Bitcoin. So the government's like, well, that energy kind of belongs to everybody, not just you guys. So you can't just take it all for mining. So like, that's another reason why they kicked them out. And then, but okay, they're rolling out this CBDC in China, the eRMB. I know some guys working on that, on software. There are like lines of code in there, commented out lines of code that for LN URL stuff, and also for the.
Are they doing Bolt 12 or?
There's like LN URL like kind of things. Okay. There's also an API that queries the height of a UTXO. So you pass it a transaction ID, it'll tell you the depth of that transaction. And like, so the way China used to do with USD is like, when you buy something from a Chinese manufacturer, you send them USD. That USD doesn't really go to the manufacturer. It goes to their bank account, but then the central bank prints RMB to buy that USD from them, and they get the RMB.
So central bank holds the USD.
Yeah, and then they use that for buying like oil or whatever. So it looks to me like that it's going to do the same thing with that, except it's going to be Bitcoin. So you pay your manufacturer with Lightning or on-chain. They send you stuff, and when that UTXO hits a certain depth, that triggers a thing to print more eRMB, which goes to the manufacturer, and the Bitcoin goes to the central bank.
And manufacturer never gets to touch the Bitcoin.
Yeah, they don't need to. They're they're within the
Right.
yeah. Unless they need to use that Bitcoin to buy something from externally, right, from outside of China. Yeah.
And when that's kind of currently, is that well known, or is this kind of?
I don't know. I know it, but I don't know who else does.
But what are the timelines on this? Because I haven't followed the geopolitics of Bitcoin.
I don't know that either.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question, and then I want to hear your answer to all these questions as well, Pablo. But this is very fascinating to me. So, in the Chinese case, I've always wondered, short term, one can make the argument that they got rid of the miners because, hey, maybe it's more important for them to have absolute control within their country. They don't want the capital flights. They want to control whatever's happening there. But if they see that Bitcoin is going, to be the global reserve currency in the future, obviously it would make sense for them to be dominant there, and maybe they restart the miners. Do you think that in that world, they'll basically say, look, everyone within our borders, we don't want you using Bitcoin. You're just using our whatever digital currency. And then the central bank will hold the BTC on the balance sheet, and they'll use that when they interact with everyone else, and that'll essentially be what's backing the RMB.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So Bitcoin we used only for external trade, for foreign trade, and RMB domestically, right? Because they still want to be able to control it domestically. They are still China, right? And so they want to control their own currency. And have like sovereignty over that. They don't want to keep using the US dollar. So this saves them from that. They also can't use RMB internationally for foreign trade without running a trade deficit, because that's the Triffin dilemma, which is what fucks the US, right? So they don't want to do that. They would do it in the interim. They're doing it in the interim because it solves a problem. The problem is they're using USD, which can be shut down at any time. So, but they don't want to continue doing that. So they're rapidly learning about how to do this with Bitcoin, I think. And Hong Kong was about to ban retail from buying Bitcoin or any crypto. They were doing it, right? And then suddenly we don't hear that anymore. Suddenly they're trying to attract anyone working in blockchain stuff, anyone working in crypto. They've flipped it the other way around. They're trying to bring Bitcoin companies and Web3 companies and shitcoin stuff, right?
You're saying
they don't really understand.
Hong Kong or China wants
someone basically they suddenly did a U-turn on Bitcoin in Hong Kong very recently.
But do you have a theory? I might have missed the connection. Do you have a theory why they went from kicking people out in China to trying to attract people in Hong Kong?
Well, because
just have bad taste.
They're still a government, so they're still incompetent, right? So that's why Web3 stuff, right? They just see it as an industry which can make money or something, right? I see. And they don't want to get left out, and they realize that they fucked up. But for some, China, they do things in small tests, they Shenzhen was a little test zone kind of thing, and they're using Hong Kong now, I think, as a test zone for this stuff. So I don't know. We'll see over the next year or so. But yeah,
I'd love to hear your take, Pablo, on either that or the original question.
Repeat the original question.
Your take on we have these centralizing forces. We have these centralizing forces with AI and decentralizing forces with Nostr, Bitcoin, and Lightning, and they're all kind of emerging very rapidly at the same time. And kind of what your best take on how those forces, what whale tail they create, and what life looks like 50 years out.
I think
that's a good question.
I like the local reference too. Yeah. Whale tail and Uvita.
No accents. I think we tend to. It's really hard to see these exponential modifications, changes in things, and when you have two forces fighting off of each other, and both of them are exponential, I don't think we can. At least I can't guess or even imagine what that will look like. I do think that AI is a centralizing force. I'm not too hopeful on that front, and I don't have a control over that front. But the control that I do have is on the stuff that I work on to make decentralization better and help that. So it's not that I will ignore what I can't control, but I will just double down on helping the curve of decentralization, because that's my team. I have no idea what the other team is doing, but that's my team. That's the team that is working towards freedom and chaos. So that's the team that I'm going to support with my life force.
It's funny because Max asks you about the next 50 years, and you're like, "What are we doing tonight?" Right?
100%.
Which I'm actually curious, because I just, before we met here in person, I just see your name on everything. I feel like every website, like, and PabloF7z also did that, and it feels like it's just a running theme, everything we look at. And I'm wondering, like, how do you think about where to focus your time, given that obviously time is limited, and you seem to have like infinite appetite to contribute in all kinds of different ways, like an ability, yeah, for sure. I think with some coffee, we're gonna have the music app up tonight, right?
I am too tired. Like today, for real, I'm too tired.
Yeah, we just need something stronger than coffee.
I heard there's a little 5 in the
Pura vida.
To me, right now, Nostr is it's so early for Nostr that it's very similar to very early Bitcoin, where it was very unclear what the hell it was. Is it a money? Is it a communications protocol? Is it there's many theories of what it could be, and I think Nostr is kind of still very much there. Software has an interesting property where some type of nature emerges from the fact that code it interacts with humans, and I think it's very hard to be able to prognosticate what the nature of software will be,
right?
Because the human component is fundamental. And humans are very messy, right?
Yeah.
We're not computers. So at this stage, the way I see it, at this stage, we're pretty much like super blind, and we just need to stumble upon things.
Yeah.
So for me, every time I launch something new, it's like I'm just throwing something with my hand, completely blindfolded, but with the reaction that I see from people, with what the people tell me, the feedback that I get, and especially with my experience of how it feels building that. What I see the shortcomings of the protocols are that there are many. That each instance gives me more information of what's the nature of Nostr, what will work, what the problems are that we need to fix. So the way I sold this to my wife, who is the one taking the brunt of the childcare right now, and many days of being in Thailand and saying, "Oh, shall we go for a hike?" Well, I have this idea that I want to work on today. The way I've been saying it is, I want to move as fast as possible and launch as many things, as weird as they might be. There are many things that I launch with a hypothesis. It does look random, and some of them are random. It's just, oh, that sounds cool, I'm going to do it. But many of them, they have a hypothesis behind. And I know I can prove, I can test the hypothesis with 4 or 6 hours worth of work. So to me, is getting this data, not this data, getting this intelligence, getting this information of the nature of this thing that I am so sure, so certain that it's going to be absolutely massive and such a force for good in the world. The cost of getting this information is 4 or 6 hours worth of work.
Right.
It's such a no-brainer.
When you're doing that 4 to 6 hours, are you sort of like typing furiously and you get 1 hour and you're like, oh, this is going to be a banger. I got to keep going. Or do you ever run into it and like, oh, that thing I thought it's actually not going to turn out the way?
Oh, a lot. I launch about 20% of the stuff in Nostr, about 20% of the stuff that I write. I write a lot more stuff. So, for example, for Nostrica, we attempted. A friend of mine, we attempted to do something for today, but then
this is the guy you met at the airport.
Yeah.
You came up with an idea at the airport.
During the flight, we came up with an idea that was very funny and interesting and cool. But one of the components was that it had to be Jack Dorsey had to be involved, and then on the second day he got sick. So if he wasn't gonna be on the third day, that would pretty much invalidate the whole thing. And then last night we had barbecue at home, and then we were coding, and we were like falling asleep, and then we realized that there was a better way of doing what we wanted to do and a better idea. So in the morning we said, okay, let's just change it. Yeah. Let's build it during the day, today. And if Dorsey shows up, well, fantastic. And if he doesn't, well, too bad. And then I was in panels pretty much a whole day. So I literally had 0 minutes of being able to write code. So it didn't happen, but we did. That's a very long story.
No, it's great. I love it. I love how...
Yeah, we did write. I did... I don't launch everything I do, but so for example, I launched, I don't know when, last week I think, Nostr.com, which allows you to publish events later, or to publish like a note or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be a note; it could be anything. When something else happens, right? So I'm calling it a if this then that for Nostr. Yeah. So for example, if the fee rate for Bitcoin blocks is X, or when blocks X arrives, or if the price of Bitcoin is Y.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I wrote that one thinking, oh, well, this is going to take like 20 minutes. And then I stumbled on issues with the protocol, that the protocol simply would not allow me to do that. Mm-hmm. So I went in, I modified the NIP that didn't allow me to do what I wanted to do. I modified GetAlv to do what I wanted GetAlv to do for me to be able to build this thing. I modified Nose2x, which is the other extension. Yeah. I modified like a bunch of things, but those things need to be approved, merged by the people running this. So the one from Fiat Chef, Nose2x, that one is merged, but the one from GetAlv, which is the biggest one, has not been merged yet. So I wanted to launch my thing, so I did all that work in that direction that would make Nostr better. But I wanted to launch Nostr anyway, so I made Nostr work in a different way. It's just more CPU intensive.
Right.
But it's cool. Like if I hadn't built that thing that looks like a toy, I wouldn't have stumbled upon the issue that thing needs to be fixed at the protocol level.
Right.
And then I am speaking with NBK, and we're talking about these things. And what the feedback that he gives me is that he cannot use Nostr for CoinKite because of the same issue that I had already found and that I have started to solve. Right. We need to build fast because we need to hit these walls and work around them, solve them.
Yeah, I love that because I think a lot of people really think about software and central planning and ideas and requirements and documentation, and actually the visceral get it there, do that, run into roadblocks and unstick it. I think a lot of people, I think you just know it, you feel it, it is you. But I think a lot of people don't know that or see that. So I like that you told that story because I think it maybe helps other people see like this is really a great way to develop, especially in this open ecosystem. This is like I'll say gold standard, and Max will correct me, the Bitcoin standard.
To me, that's like the cheat code in life. Just do that for everything in your life. If nothing else, you'll learn why it doesn't work. If nothing else, you'll learn why you can't do why. Right. But when you don't try, I mean, yes, it's kind of a cliche. Oh, you can't win if you don't participate or whatever. But what's much more interesting to me is that if you don't try, you don't learn why you failed. Right. So it's just trying something and getting the information of why it doesn't work on itself is useful.
Right.
So you already won.
Yeah.
And also, and this extends also towards like, okay, even if it does work, does anyone use it or not, right? So it's like, but it actually, and people like are afraid of putting stuff out there a lot of times because they're like, oh, but maybe no one will like it or something. But it's like, but it's irrelevant because if no one likes it, yeah. Well, also like if no one likes it, it means no one knows about it. So there is nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. Is there is there any kind of addendum or appendix you might give to the philosophy that Pablo laid out around kind of how you think about building projects or kind of developing new things?
I think it revolves around identifying the problem that you want to solve.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's just like fun, right? Okay, you're having fun to mess around, and that's also valid, right? But it's like, but if you really want to like do something powerful, it's usually like CryptoKitties. It was fun, but also useless and stupid, and like retarded and expensive, and built on something that's stupid as well. So anyway,
tell us how you really feel about it.
But okay. So like I think like you identify problems, and that's all you do. You just need to solve problems, and then firstly you find a problem that you think other people actually care about, which means that actually you care about it first. Like it's a problem for you. So like don't solve a problem. I think the most important thing is that you don't solve problems that aren't actually problems yet. Yeah, that's all. And just keep doing that. Is
there a good rubric for that? Because I think a lot of times people think something's a problem or they kind of set up an imagined goal without necessarily identifying the problem. Is there any way to like check yourself? Like, is this the simplest problem? Is this the right articulation of the problem? Like, is there any kind of like litmus test you can use to check if you're being honest with yourself?
Yeah, I think basically if you need to spend more than like a few weeks to build it, then you probably shouldn't do it. And also then if you do build it and then there is no reaction to it, it's also like don't continue. So like because when you're building software, it's like, or any engineering thing, it's like you're kind of like blind until other people get involved.
Yeah.
Because like you don't have a reference point, and so like you could be like rapidly accelerating. You're like moving with a high velocity towards something, but you have no reference point to know whether you're like just like when you're accelerating. If you don't have a reference point, you can't see outside the window to see what's going on around you. Then like you don't know if you're accelerating in the direction you want to go, or if you're actually just like falling to the ground because it's the same acceleration.
Right.
So like, and falling to the ground is not good. So that's why I think like you need to build quickly and put it out there quickly and see what the reaction is. And like I think you probably have made the same mistake, but like I've spent too much time on building things and found out that I wasted all that time because no one gives a fuck.
How do you think about that getting reaction? Because like I think if you're prolific enough, people kind of know what to expect. Oh, this is the line of thinking. These are the kinds of things I might expect to hear or see from this person. But like, imagine somebody who just heard about Nostr and they don't really have a presence here. They don't know any of the people here. How would they get something out to be, at least to see if people react? How would they sort of get plugged into like some visibility?
I think we all get inspired by different things. For someone that is new, just build the simplest version, even if it looks horrible, if it's barely functional. Just build the most basic rudimentary thing that excites you as a person. The thing with Nostr is that developing for Nostr is at first so easy. So it's not like Bitcoin. Writing Bitcoin script is really hard. It's really hard. You need to understand what you're doing. Writing Bitcoin stuff, it's not easy. But on Nostr, it's the polar opposite. In Nostr, it's extremely easy to start. So I think that's what's cool. You can as a developer, you can experiment with whatever the hell you want. You can come up with kinds. You can come up with data structures. You can do whatever the hell you want. No one's going to say anything, right? And that allows that freedom for a person that has new to the space, new to Nostr, maybe doesn't have a lot of experience. There was a kid, he looked young. I'm an old dude now.
We've all been feeling that way lately.
There was a young boy.
The age cutoff for a kid for me now is like 25 years old.
Oh no! Yeah, so this was a kid, right? Okay, so there was this young person at the workshop stage, the workshop area, and I saw him front row taking notes of everything that was going on. After my talk about, I talked about micro apps and the importance for the protocol. He came up with a lot of questions. He clearly has not developed anything for Nostr. He's clearly a new developer, but he's there, front row, taking notes, doing his work, and asking what would you do with this? That's all it takes. And to me, what's very interesting is the person that has that curiosity will do things and increase their speed, increase their technique, their understanding of how things work. And the person that is thinking whether they should build something or whatever, they will always remain on the planning stage and write documents about how the kind will interact with this other thing, but never shipping anything.
Right.
And I just want to extend on that because I love what you're saying here. I mean, it's kind of like just like FAFO, see what happens, right? But I loved your original point was, software, sure, that's one example, but for anything in life, right? And it's encouraging for me to hear this because as we were talking about music earlier, it's been a while since I put out an album. But in all the times that we've done that, it's just been like meeting up with a producer or a friend and be like, all right, look, we've got 1 week that we're like staying in a house together. There'll be an album at the end, come hell or high water, like figure it out. And just throwing yourself in there or immersion, right? If you're learning a new language, just going to a new space. And I kind of wanted to bridge, and this is a little bit of a weird topic, but and maybe at some point we'll let you guys go here and you can get some food. But you had mentioned, I think this is a very wise sort of philosophy for any kind of learning. And I wanted to hear a little bit from you. I know you're doing the like sort of world unschooling thing.
By the way, we got to do another whole thing. I want to learn about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want to hear about world schooling.
Yeah. But I just maybe like super high level, like what has that been like? Like, you obviously seem like a really awesome, like, teacher, I'm sure, to your kids as well. As you teach them about learning, are you just like saying, hey, anything you want to try in life, we're going to take you to a new country, just go outside and like FAFO.
Yeah, pretty much. The basic premise of world schooling is sort of like unschooling-ish. It depends. Unschooling is very broad. It's a whole rabbit hole. But world schooling, as an idea, is you don't go to school. Like your kids don't go to school. You travel the world. It's unschooling. It's just not going to formal school and while traveling the world. And it might seem okay. It's like digital nomad or something like that. And it's the same model, but the reasoning is different.
The same model as which?
Of digital nomads and that
Yeah.
kind of framework. The fact that you are suffering the discomfort of having to travel, having to figure out logistics from where do I live, car, where do I get the groceries, like all the minutia that we don't see in daily life, you need to figure out. And at the same time, your kid is emotionally having to figure out the same kind of discomforts. So it's a very simple way of creating a certain structure where you have stress, emotional stress. So for example, a very simple example is the first time we left the home where we had been living for a while. We were flying here to Costa Rica. We moved here to Costa Rica. And the first time, we could not bring her toys. So we just donated them, I guess, or threw them in the trash. For her, that was this traumatic event because she was super attached to her toys. So we told her that she can keep a few, but that we cannot take all of them with us. Now, every time we travel, she pick one toy the rest she knows. They're going to the trash or they're being donated, and she's perfect. She doesn't even say anything.
It's like normalized.
It's normalized. She gets to a new country. She makes friends. We have a structure on how to make friends. There are many issues with this lifestyle, but all of them are hackable. You can find workarounds on how to make friends very quickly, how to get friends for your kids very quickly. All these things, there are processes that you can observe, because once you've done it a few times, you say, when I do this thing, I find friends, right? So for example, the way I do it with my family is we go to places where we know there are alternative education methods or systems. We know there is a way to get in contact with them. Usually it's Facebook groups. And we just show up, right? And then we just publish on the Facebook group or DMs or go to and talk to someone. It depends on the situation, obviously. And just say, I know you have the kids here. I am a Bitcoiner. I can give a talk about Bitcoin. I am a programmer. I've been programming since I was like 10 years old. I can give a talk. I know you have 10-year-olds here. I can give a talk about for free, obviously. My wife is a writer. She can go in and say, maybe you have kids. So you do any of these things, but you give a talk about something that you care about. You have for 10, 20, 15, it depends, 1 hour sometimes, you get the attention of a large group of people, and you just say, this is the stuff that I care about. It's signaling,
right?
100% signaling.
Right.
This is the stuff that I care about. And the 2 or 3 people that are there, they come over.
Yeah.
Oh my God, tell me more about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this. That's so inspiring that you were able to write code when you were so kid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You get friends like that, and it works every single time. The next day, play date, boom, sold.
Yeah.
And it really works. And it takes literally sending a DM and doing a talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's basically, it's anything creative, right? Like you're giving a talk, you're writing a note, you're writing software, you're basically putting something in the world that people can respond to, and they can say, I'm in or I'm not in. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is that these kids, we always go to places that, we've been to Austin. That was the only normal,
keep Austin weird.
Big city. There's a lot of resources. If they wanted a Bitcoiner in Austin, they can get a Bitcoiner like that. But then we went to Greece, a small island in Greece. Then we went to Thailand, small town in Thailand. Then we went to the small island in Vietnam. Then we went to Madeira. These places, they don't get a lot of Bitcoiners or, like someone just offering to give a talk like this. But they want it. So there is demand,
right.
But there is no way for that demand to be satisfied.
Right.
So when you say, I can satisfy this,
the
uptick is immediate. It's obvious, right?
Yep.
And I think it's also really awesome, great sort of insight there. You come out offering something, right? You're just like, you're giving something, no strings attached, and then good things, come back around.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kids ask you the wildest questions, man. It's so weird. Yeah, they ask you things because you go to a podcast, and a Bitcoin podcast, and they ask you within the realm of so my wife, she studied psychology before becoming a writer, and she did work as a psychologist for a few years. And one of the kids was obsessed with, did you work on this asylum, and how many people did it take to control the crazy people? And the kid was running with it.
A line of questioning.
But the spectrum, it's kind of cool because the spectrum of responses and questions that you get is so wide.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I find it kind of fascinating.
That's awesome. Love it. Cool.
Well, I don't know, maybe if
you guys getting hungry?
Yeah, if you guys have any parting thoughts, I think we should go get some food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Yeah, hungry.
Those are the parting thoughts.
Food good. Food good.
This was nice as kind of a recap of Nostrica and kind of getting to kind of meet in person finally, and people I've known of on the internet before. But I think we've got a lot of follow-ups too we could do a whole other session where we learn more about Nostrica and your ideas around the music industry. We could do a whole other thing about, world schooling and the freedom technologies broadly speaking, I think. And I mean, and Max and I are doing news every week. So I think let's all keep
cool.
keep hanging on
Perfect.
the internet and
Love it.
and seeing each other on Nostr. Pura vida. All right. Thanks, guys.